Welcome back to Wellness Wave Radio. Thanks for tuning in this morning to ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. My name's Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, a certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Please remember that everything we discuss in the show is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. So we're not going to give you any medical advice today, hopefully. So I'm here with Ben from Route 12 Pickle. I said it right, didn't say pickleball.
Very good.
And, as most people know, pickleball is taking over the country. And, so Ben owns a pickleball club. And Ben, your pickleball club is where?
It's located in West Boylston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Which is about 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from Worcester, Massachusetts, which is the second largest city in New England, for those who don't know about Worcester.
Right. And the other thing is, what's the exact address?
184 West Boylston Street.
It's in a huge plaza. It's at the very end. And, I had met Ben, month, 2 months ago, whatever, and I was really impressed. And people know I used to be a big tennis player. I coached the Becker College tennis team, so I'm coming from racket sports. And so I was, familiar with pickleball, but I'd only seen it outside. And I'm not going to mention the place I went to, but all they did is they did a converted gym and they put lines in it, and I tried it for a little bit of time, but the ball is going back and forth all over the place. So I think it's kind of a makeshift pickleball court. I was really impressed with Route 12 Pickle because you got your own little sanctuary there, your own little square, and your ball stay in the same exact place all the time.
Yeah, we have fenced-in courts, which really controls where the balls can go to, so they're not bouncing into other people's courts and vice versa, and so the game doesn't get disrupted.
Right, that's what I really liked about it. It was a really nice atmosphere, very clean. You could sit around afterwards, have a couple of drinks, pop a couple afterwards. That's what I used to love about tennis. When I used to go up at the Paxton Tennis Club, basically after you go up there and then you'd have a couple of beers and watch, and you could criticize other people playing, right? Exactly. You could have done that better, you know what I mean? That's what it is. But one of the things, when I used to teach tennis, I would say to my students, tennis is a difficult game to play even poorly. It's a very difficult game to play. And pickleball is obviously, it's a much smaller court, it's a much bigger ball, a smaller racket, and you can basically, you could pick the game up. In fact, Art, the station manager, he came back from vacation in Florida, is raving about pickleball because it was so much fun, and I could do this, and this. So you don't have to take like a zillion, you can take lessons.
Yes, you can, yeah.
But you don't have to take a zillion lessons. You could pick it up relatively quickly. The analogy I heard is kind of a mix between tennis and table tennis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ping pong and tennis, there's a lot of overlap and similarities to the game, at least from a hitting of the ball kind of skill that you need to acquire. But other than that, there are definite strategies and ways of playing pickleball that are different from those other games. And if you want to play it effectively, you really, should take a lesson, frankly, if you want to play it and play it right and have fun.
And you have an instructor, obviously.
We have 7 of them.
Oh, even better. So you could basically, what I would recommend is, again, just, take a lesson, find out, how to do it right. Because the other thing, what'll happen is, again, with when I taught tennis, a lot of people. In fact, I would say the other expression I had, Ben, was tennis is an unnatural act.
Okay.
if it feels good, you're probably doing it wrong. Because that's one of the issues. But the same thing, what will happen is, and Ben and I talked about this before, you could wind up with golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, if you don't hit the ball correctly. So because tendonitis is a big problem for a lot of people. So for listeners to know, it's a lot harder to heal a tendon than it is to heal a muscle, because muscle's got really good blood flow. You don't get much blood flow in a tendon, so it takes a very long time to heal. That's why tendon injury is so much harder. So my advice, for what it's worth, is I would rather take the lesson, have the instructor show you the correct way to hit the ball,
right,
and then then you could take it from there, as opposed to you hit the ball wrong over and over again. You wind up with tendonitis, and then you're out of the you're out of the game for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's a reason to take a lesson though as well too, is because pickleball has some unique rules to it, with primarily about how to keep score. So anybody can go on YouTube and get some overview of it. If anything, that's probably one of the biggest learning curves to the game, is learning how to keep score. As silly as that may sound.
No, it was. In fact, when I did that one with pickleball, I went on YouTube and I figured out how to do it. Yeah. But it's a lot different than tennis. Well, a smaller court, different strategies. But like tennis, what I liked about pickleball is they have a rating system in tennis, like they do in pickleball, starting from like 1.0 up to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can play with people at your level. If you want, you can play a little bit up. Plus, it's co-ed.
Yep.
That's what's good about it. You can play with your wife,
Yep.
or you can play with your wife and your girlfriend.
Yep.
Not at the same time, Ben, right?
No, I wouldn't recommend that.
So, it's good. The other thing was interesting because we have a mutual friend, Conrad, the casual golfer on CRN, the station that I'm on, and I went up there and we were talking about pickleball, and so we were recording some stuff, and he says, I said, yeah, they found out that basically any racket sport, tennis or pickleball, they found out the average person lives 5 years longer on average.
Really?
Yeah. And he said, I just read that article in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
And what happened is, what they found is, because you have to use the hand-eye coordination, so you're going to be moving, so you get all that stuff together. But Conrad said too, in the Wall Street Journal, it said you have two kinds of muscle fibers. One is fast twitch, other one's slow twitch. And it works more the fast twitch muscles. Just a lot of older people, not young people like us, Ben, but the older people. The older people, these are muscles that are harder to use, because most people older, they move slow. But in pickleball, you gotta move a little bit.
Yeah, you have to react quickly. The ball does come back to you pretty quick at times, especially if people are hitting it hard. And to get your paddle on the ball, you got to have quick response time, and this encourages you to do that.
Right, it's the hand-eye coordination, all these things working together, because as you get older, what happens is, again, it's just your reaction time, everything slows down. But the other big issue right now with anybody getting older is a condition called sarcopenia. That just means wasting away the muscles. And they found out, Ben, that most people, when they fall down, they used to think it was to do with basically losing your balance. It's called proprioception, how your body relates to where you are in space. But they found that that's only one small part of it. The other part of it, most people's muscles are so weak that when they hit a little piece of paper, they go down. And the other problem, especially for women, you develop something called osteopenia, osteoporosis. When you fall down and your bone's strong,
you break.
I think when a person breaks a bone, they usually, I forget the exact number, but they'll die within a year, because they just go downhill so quickly.
Yeah.
So not only are you going to get the benefit of playing pickleball in terms of running around and getting up, the hand-eye coordination, it works your brain. And the other thing it does, because you're moving, it's also going to build up bone mass, bone strength, because if you walk around and you bang your bone gets stronger. We have to, we're like smart monkeys, basically. We don't want to die. So if we put stress on our body, the body will react and our body will become stronger. So, and a lot of people, my wife being one, my wife hates to exercise. I'm a personal trainer, certified personal trainer. Can't get my wife to the gym. She won't go to the gym.
Well, you're taking her to the wrong activity,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So you got to find something you like to do.
Yeah.
And pickleball is a lot of fun.
The thing that makes pickleball so popular as well, aside from the athletic benefit that you get out of it, is really the socialization aspect to the game, because you're basically four people on a confined space and you're hitting the ball back and forth to each other, and a lot of communication goes on as you play the game, and laughing, and it just makes for a really fun time.
Right. The other thing, you just brought it up, is the key. They're finding out, especially as people get older, it's called social isolation.
Yep.
They say that's as bad as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Oh.
It goes downhill really, really quickly. Again, we're smart monkeys. We're really we're really pack animals, okay? We're used to being with other people. And if we're not other people, this goes back to evolutionary biology. So we've only been around like about the last 100 years like this, okay? We've been around for millions of years, Ben. And what happened is, we work, like you ever see chimpanzees, they're in packs. Our DNA is 99 point something the same as a chimpanzee, so we're closer to a chimpanzee than anything else. And they're in packs because if the leopard comes after them, the chimpanzees can go off like the leopard. So we're really smart chimpanzees. So we don't feel safe unless we're in groups. That's almost subconscious, Ben. So it's subconscious. So when you're with other people, you feel safer. You don't know why, but this is basically evolutionary biology. Goes back to that. But you get to interact with people, and as you get older, you know, your friends are dying off. You're not working anymore. You're not going to school, so you don't have that social interaction. So what happens, you know, when you play when you go to a pickleball? The other thing I like about, some people say we can just play outside, right? But what I like about inside, Ben, is what happens with inside, you can kind of hang around. There's a whole bunch of people there. So you're not going to get that with, you know, going outside and a court. You're not going to get that like you will with a club.
Yeah, nor do you get it like going to the gym. You know, it's great that people go to the gym and work out and, you know, get some exercise, but in some ways it's a very, you know, individual activity as well that you're doing. You know, pickleball brings people together, and it forces and encourages people to socialize with each other. And, you know, I have people coming in there all the time saying that, you know, this is the best part of my day because I can forget about everything else. I come in, I'm with a bunch of other people, and we're all doing the same thing, and we're just, you know, enjoying it.
And I think that's the key point. Again, I'm a gym rat. I go to the gym every day, but I get friends there, but it's not the same thing. Right. And again, I really miss, in fact, when they interviewed professional athletes, you know, in terms of when they retired from their sport, and they asked them, well, you know, what did you miss about it? He says, you know, I miss most is the camaraderie. Yeah. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why soldiers re-up to go back overseas, because they miss that camaraderie with the other people. You work in a group. Again, we're herd animals. We're pack animals. And that's what I really loved about tennis. After we hang around, you see people and things like that. But the other thing, what I found interesting, I got a good friend. His name is, we met him, Coach Kane, Jim Kane, big time tennis player. We were talking about, actually yesterday, we were talking about this at New Kitchen. And what happens is they say what happens is golf and tennis is a big business game because you get to talk to other people. And I mentioned to him, I met so many people, you know, just basically playing tennis that I would have never met. You know, really, really high rollers. You know what I mean? And they normally wouldn't talk to me, but I was a pretty damn good tennis player, so they would talk to me. So even if you're a younger person and maybe you want to you know, make connections like a golf, and what you're saying is right. You're going to be sitting next to them. You're going to be playing, and all of a sudden, and my friend Coach Kane said, he says, yeah. And they kind of like you know, maybe I have a job for you, or maybe this, or you can ask, you know, you get a mentor, right?
You know, our club is, I'm telling you, is one of the best places to go network at. I mean, I've been able to meet a lot of people, a lot of successful people around, you know, Central Mass by them coming into the club. And, you know, pickleball serves as the common denominator, but, you know, it grows from that. So, you know, you start to develop relationships with people that you normally would never ever meet.
Right, and that's was my conversation, because you know, back then, excuse the expression, I didn't have a pot to you know what in, you know, so I was in. But most people, well, not so much with pickleball, but in tennis, you have to have some money to belong to a tennis club. Sure. I mean, you do the average. But again, because I was a tennis coach, I could get in because I was running programs for them. But I got a chance to meet some really, really, you know, high-end people, and that actually led to other things and other things. So again, there's just that socialization. You get to meet so many people. Yeah. But we also talked a little bit about the advantage of sports even with kids, because what happens, it gives you that feeling of confidence, and you can see where you're going. You're progressing. You know, I went from a 2.0 to, and now I'm a 2.5, or now I'm a 3, and you can see the direction you're going. So it all actually helps you build confidence.
Yeah. I, um, I just think, you know, as I think about this, you know, watching the growth of people as they have gotten better and better, and frankly, in short periods of time, it doesn't take long to get better at the game, and you know, seeing their growth take place. You know, I compliment the people, and I'm not trying to kiss up to them. I'm just saying, you know, look at how much fun you're having, and you're now really starting to really master this, and it makes them feel good about themselves.
The other thing I remember back to my tennis playing days, you know, back then I was working in the hospital, but like anybody else, I had all my problems. You know, I'm married, I got kids, I get this, and you get a lot of stuff going on in your head.
Yeah.
But when I went out to the tennis court, all my problems went away, Ben. Just floated away.
Yep.
Because you can't be thinking about problems when that ball is coming at you. You know what I mean? You're just concentrating on just doing that one thing.
I mean, so many people, you know, comment about, you know, this is their happy place, that they forget about everything else that's going on in their world, you know, for those 2 hours that they're in there playing.
Right, and I think that's the whole thing. It's going to lower your stress level because it does two things. Again, we're basically smart monkeys, so we can only exist in one of two states. One of them is called the sympathetic state, which is the fight or flight. You're running away from the line, and the other one is the parasympathetic, where you're calmed down. But if you're in a constant sympathetic state, you're releasing a lot of cortisol. It's a stress hormone. That causes a lot of medical problems, as you're constantly stressed all the time. But what's good about something like pickleball is what you're going out there. First of all, you're running around. The stress is going away. The cortisol is being eaten up into your muscles. But it's also, like you say, you're not worried about your problems anymore. So you got a twofer. You got a 2-for-1, right?
Yeah.
You get a twofer with that.
Yep.
So there's so many benefits. And I think what you were saying, Ben, is important. Is the other thing is you got to find something you like to do. And I can't think of too many things that are better than pickleball that you would like to do.
You know, people get very, very passionate. Once they get hooked on this thing, into this game, I won't say it becomes a way of life, but you know, I see a lot of the same people coming in on a daily basis or an every other day basis, and it just, you know, it lightens me up or lights me up when I see them coming in, because I know that they're here and they enjoy being here, and it's their time for them to really just have fun for themselves.
Right. The other thing, what I noticed, one of the things I liked about Route 12 Pickle is kind of like Cheers. Everybody knows your name.
Yep.
So in fact, it's funny because there's a really nice conference room that Ben has, and Ben and I will meet there sometimes, just talk about stuff. And I could see Ben, and I could see, and I'm not talking, I could see his eyes going. He could see the people moving in, and they're, hi Ben, hi Ben, hi Ben. So, Ben takes, I see like a personal interest in people. He's there basically to make sure that things run correctly. Some people, they're just like business people, and they're kind of hard, you know what I mean? They're looking at the bottom line all the time. But I think, let's back up, because I like when you told me in the beginning is how you actually got into this, and I think that's a great story.
Thank you. I got hooked on pickleball. I was retired for 5 years. I had a pretty good career in the IT industry. I was a sales guy, basically, in the IT space and the computer networking space. And, once I got out of, doing that, I didn't know what to do with myself. I had a lot of time on my hands. I did some volunteer work. I worked at Home Depot for 3 days and, just couldn't find my way, as to what to do next. And someone had just suggested, go play pickleball. Just go take it up as a hobby. And it got me out there. And so once I only took a few lessons, and I'm not a great player by any means, but I figured out I can do this, and I enjoyed it. So I started playing outside at the public courts that existed around the Worcester, Northborough, Westborough, Shrewsbury areas, and just saw that this game's going to grow. This game's getting bigger and bigger. I mean, I still think that we're at the very beginnings of the popularity of it, but it's growing daily. there are almost 30 million people in the United States playing pickleball now, which is an incredible number. And I just looked at this and I said, you know what? There's a need for this, year round, and because of the seasonality here in New England, you can only play it outside 6 months of the year, and even during that 6 months, you're going to lose time because of weather conditions. So, on a lark, I said, I'm going to build one of these places, and I went out and I looked at someone who had built one and had been involved with it for a couple of years, and they weren't making a ton of money at it, at the beginning, but it was a growing thing. And so I said, what the hell, I get a lot of years left in my life. I want to do something and have fun at it. So I jumped into this.
Right, I think the old expression is, if you find something you love to do and you can make a little money at it, you never have to work another day in your life because you love doing it. I mean, I love doing this, so I mean so I don't consider this work. I just like to do it,
yeah.
And that's the whole thing. And I don't care how much money you make, but if you don't like what you do, I mean, the other thing is, I like the expression too, is time is the ultimate currency. We only have so much time. That's one thing, we only have so much time.
Yeah.
And why would you want to spend your time doing something you don't like to do? Because it's limited in terms of what you can have. So finding something you love to do, and I could tell Ben loves to do this. I guess he's engaged. And again, as soon as and you walk in, basically, again, somebody will greet you. They have everything there that you need. And what I like too is that, again, if you're just an outdoor pickleball person, again, you don't know what you're doing wrong. You don't know any of this stuff. So if you're at Route 12 Pickle, what's happening is you have an instructor that you can just go over there at some point and say, I want to up my game. Or can you watch me, play for a little while? Oh, other thing I loved about, because again, when I played tennis, I used to hit what's called the tennis ball machine every morning. I would go out, I hit the Paxton Tennis Club when it opened, hit a ball machine for an hour, then I'd play matches afterwards. That I was basically I would love to practice. And I said, Ben, do they have a pickle? And he does. And you got the old lobster, right?
Yeah.
It was the old lobster machine I used to use for tennis.
Yeah, they just simply modified it and adapted it over for pickleball, And it's a great way to, if you want to hone your game and, you don't need anybody else to do it with, you can just drill with that machine. And the machines are sophisticated enough that they can do all sorts of things in terms of oscillation and speed and height of, the ball being thrown at you. So it's almost like playing a real game, but again, you're drilling, and that's how, you get better by, muscle memory and repetitiveness.
Right, and that's exactly what Coach Kanan we're talking about, is professional athletes. You don't know the amount of hours they spend practicing. You have no idea. I remember LeBron James,
Sure.
A few years ago, he would basically, he didn't have a good medium range jump shot. Off season, he would do it over and over again. If you really want to get good, you have to practice.
Yeah.
And actually, what I love about the ball machine, which you can't get outdoors, what I love about the ball machine is that you can work on, and Ben said, it can move you left, right, it can do whatever, hit all volleys, you can do whatever you want with that. But you can, if your backhand's no good, which if your backhand's no good, I was trying to teach Ben a two-handed backhand. What happens is, but you're not used to it, you could just feed that backhand over and over again. Yep. And then what'll happen, and the other thing you can do, is my French coach he's actually going to start videotaping people, with tennis. We can do it at pickleball too. Sure. And what he does is he can do it with slow motion. You know what I mean? And thus you could break the whole and see exactly what you're doing wrong. Yep. So what he was saying, people, any sport, you think what you're doing, but you're not really doing what you think you're doing. You know what I mean? You think you're doing it right, but you actually see yourself on video and see what you're doing and have a professional, like one of Ben's professionals, they can break it down. You could save yourself, and what you were talking about, Ben, is muscle memory. When I taught tennis, it was much easier to teach somebody fresh than somebody with bad habits, because they get a bad habit, it's so hard to break.
Sure. Yeah.
And the other thing I would tell students, Ben, I would say to them, look, you're going to get a lot worse. I'm going to change your stroke. You're going to play a lot worse because you're going to learn a whole new muscle memory pattern. But instead of hitting that wrong stroke 10,000 times, why don't you see one of Ben's pros and have them break it down. You don't want to develop that. There's an expression in neurology: neurons that fire together wire together. So once they fire, you got to run a loop, and you're used to doing this all. It's very hard to break a bad habit.
Yep. I'm speechless. I mean, it just, I don't want to say it's all consuming, but when you get into it, like anything that you become passionate about, you'll get into it and get into it deeply.
Yeah, it could really, if you think about it, we talked about, the main things we talked about, the socialization, and also the socialization and being able to get out there and run around and work your muscles and do things like that, relieve stress. So there's the three, right? We got relieve the stress, we got the socialization, and we got the activity.
Yeah.
So and it's something, and probably the main thing that you brought up is you like doing it. And there's nothing wrong with getting obsessed or consumed with good things, right? You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with that. So you can go out there, and it could really be for somebody a life changer.
Amen.
A little bit to do with the biochemistry, and the other thing is the big problem now, Ben, is they got type 2 diabetes. People, people are overweight and this and this. What happens is, if you run around, what happens? You build up muscle. You absorb all that sugar into your body. So it actually will help a type 2 diabetic. Mm-hmm. It will help a lot of different people in terms of health. So maybe we can get maybe a doctor to write a prescription.
Well, a lot of people don't know that actually, if you have health insurance providers typically will reimburse you to have a health club membership. Well, pickleball falls now into that category as well. So if you decide to join a club, whether it's mine or somebody else's, you should take up that benefit, use that benefit to your advantage, and help reduce the cost of joining a facility like this.
Yeah, and Ben's got a great office manager, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure Lisa can help you with that. So you can maybe go over there, because I know I have that. Because I go to the gym, I get reimbursed for that.
Yep.
And I think especially, I got this card from Blue Cross, and they give you, it's a lot of money in there.
It's like $500.
Yeah. So it could wind up costing you zero, and it basically, and it could also make you a lot healthier. So again, we got a win-win here. We're coming up to the end of the show. I just wanted to mention, Ben was very gracious. My cohort, Kelly, ICU nurse, holistic nutritionist. May 4th, which is Sunday, we're going to have a seminar up there specifically to do with sugar and a good sugar substitute. So we're going to hopefully do that once a month up at there. Also gives you a chance to go over there and check it out, right? Check out, see what's going on. Come up there, and we're giving out prizes. In fact, for our viewers, if you email me, philgeorge@charter.net, and say you're going to come, we're going to give out prizes. We'll give you a prize just because you emailed me. And if you want any information, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. I got Ben on my speed dial, and I'll shoot it. I'll shoot it over to him. So Ben, you want to add anything else when we close it up?
If you've never played, come and at least experience it once, and don't make the assumption just because the name of the game is called pickleball. It sounds stupid that it's not a fun thing to do.
So I can't recommend the club high enough. I've been, and anybody knows me. I don't have anybody on the show that I wouldn't use myself that I don't endorse. So we'll see you guys next week, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks. One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach is, what are the best supplements to take? Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend, with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net, for a free consult.